2016 Subaru Forester with a deteriorated wheel bearing. And the noise that you hear is flat spots in the ball bearings. You know, why didn't they use taper roller bearings? I don't know. Ball bearings, they work. But when they get one defect in them, your car turns into an airplane. You hear it? Well, I've got the tires off the vehicle here, and sometimes I feel like jobs like these are a little over my head, and this one literally is. But that's all right, we'll move forward. So after the tires come off, you're going to want to take off these two caliper bolts. They're 14 millimeter. So I'll do the same on both sides. If you're doing a wheel bearing on one side of a Subaru of this nature, you're better off doing both at the same time, because these parts, you know, that tire turns with that tire, so that side wears with this side, and you're gonna make your life miserable if you just do one. All right, now we're gonna go after these caliper bracket bolts, that one right there, and take two wrenches, a 16 and a 14, and break them loose. This top one here, you can kind of get a impact gun on, but you can also just double a wrench. See how that works? Make sure you got a quality wrench like this one here, made by the Snap-on company. No. I'll break both sides free here. Yeah. Yeah. Make sure she's on there nice and good. I'll show you this again. Oh, there we go. Link together. Lean back, steady yourself, ready. Because not everybody has impact tools, so I'll just show you how you do this with El Manuels. It helps if you grunt a little bit. Extendo Wrencho. Alright. See this hole here? See how it's got threads? That's a jack hole. You're going to take two bolts, M8 by 125, thread them in, and it will push the rotor off. If you've got heavy corrosion in this area, you're going to have a heck of a time. So I recommend getting a soft-faced dead blow and giving it a whack. I'll show you. This is what I mean. Soft face, hard face. Get over here. When you hear the sound change, hear it? That's free. Now this guy will come right off. And there you have it. As you can see, previous mechanic used nothing. Did the brake job and didn't even clean the surface. So that's good. Industry standard. Wow. if you are using power tools, send it in through here with an angle, blow that bolt out, and then same kind of position on the inside of the arm up to the upper, and go. Always good practice to put your bolts back where they belong before, during, and after the repair procedure. Oh, jeez. Somebody didn't put it back. This is to adjust your parking brake. And, yeah. Oh, jeez. There's a little rubber plug that goes in here, and you know, where is it, last guy? You see this here wire and this bolt? This is your rear speed sensor, and when these bolts at the rear of the wheel bearing get broken free, this section is going to come free of the knuckle.
No way. No way. What is this garbage?
The axle will then be able to move, so it's a good idea to take this bolt out and get this sensor out of the way, because that's you know, that's some money that you don't want to spend there. But our next mission is going to be breaking free this this nut here. Sometimes these can be a little challenging to get out. There's a little kind of area here to pry with. What I find to work really well is a hook pick. As you can see, it comes right out. So if you don't take it out, that side will get kind of banged up. You also can have a pretty good indication of which wheel bearing has failed looking at the speed sensor. My guess is that it's this one here. Let's take a look at the other one and compare. Here's the other one. This one's a lot cleaner. Sorry that you can't see great, but yeah, see, this one doesn't have any crap on it. The other one did. So, let's get them big nuts off of there and continue on. We got a 32 millimeter socket. Needs to be an impact. You don't need to worry about that crimp in there. It'll come out on its own. But it's a great indicator for when it is actually tight again. So here we go. 1, 2. And that's off. Not very tight. Let's go. Give the other one. Not tight at all. That's interesting. Well, must have been a Friday.
Here's to feeling good all the time.
After you got the bolt, or I'm sorry, the nut out of there, make sure that your axle can move freely, because you will need to push it back so that you can get these bolts out. Let's go. Alright, I've got these broken free. Oh, this is terrible. I'm sorry. It's really hard to share what I do, because I'm just a shadow worker, you know. So I break these free by hand and then pop them out. And as you can see, with the shaft push backwards, it doesn't hit anything. We'll use our convenient gun holder sponsored by Subaru. Let's take these bolts out of here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And drop that wrench. Put these with the rest of them. Ah! So I like to start from the outside and work my way in. And then work my way back out. And then go home and cry. So now, with any luck, I can just grab onto this and pull it out, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Wrong. Alright, so that's stuck in there. I'm going to show you how to fix that scenario. Alright, so I got the bolts threaded back in part way. And I've got my air hammer. And then I've got them on the corners. I'm going to use the bolts to try to jar it free. I believe we just had success. This is where things can get difficult.
Well, a wiser fellow than myself once said, sometimes you eat the bar and much obliged. Sometimes the bar, well, he eats you.
So I tried everything. It's not coming out. Not without a fight. All the bolts are free. Nothing holding this in but rust. The rest of the parts are in pretty good shape. I can't understand how it's so stuck. So this contraption you see on here, I built out of desperation working on a car a while ago that was a similar situation. And I didn't want to wreck the backing plate, and there's no real good way to push on it. So I took a harmonic balancer and used that as a weight, and then, you know, steel rod, this. It's a contraption, but it's essentially a hub puller, and I'm too cheap to buy the real one. So we're gonna give it a shot, and the idea is that it's just gonna rip it right out. So hopefully in just one go it does it. I'm gonna put a chisel into the back here and create some pressure. You gotta be kidding me. All right. This thing is so stuck in here. I've been fighting it for 20 minutes. Thought I was gonna have a good instructional video here, but no, this is just day in the life. So it is on the move. If Try and get another leverage point here. All right, here we go.
Loud noises!
That's not the part you want to come out. All right, now we have an inside view. We can confirm the condition of the wheel bearing. Yep, it's torched. All right, let's proceed. Things have progressed. Parking brake had to come off so that I can be aggressive with this hub here. engaged in this and this. What are the odds? You can see the WD-40 did get in there and did something. Oh yeah, come on. Come on. So that's what the trouble was. It's about one of the worst stuck ones I've ever had. Alright. That was fun. This tool right here is called a three-sided scrape-a-madoo. Commonly found in machine shops, and I like them for scaling rust off of machine surfaces. The journal that the bearing sits in, I'm going to go until I see shiny cast iron. So all the scales gotta come off, and then once you see it shiny, that's it. Do that all the way. There's some chunks right there. Do that all the way around, and you'll be back at the original diameter of the machine surface. Put some grease there, and at 200,000, when you're doing bearings again, it won't be stuck. This one might actually need some sandpaper. Alright, now that we've heavily damaged some parts, the bolts no longer want to go through the holes. So I've filed them out so that we can get the wheel bearing back in. Now I gotta clean these surfaces, and we're gonna put grease in there. And then it'll come out next time. Miracle. So I've got the parking brake all tuned up, got the parts back on it. New hub, surface is all cleaned, everything's greased. The axle threads, needed to repair those a little bit and tune up the holes. So we're ready to go together here. Let me show you my my method here. Just kind of take some marine grease, put it around this contact area here. Never seen grease hurt a piece of metal before. They like each other a lot. Makes it awfully tough for this to seize in there again. This, I believe, is an asymmetric bolt pattern. We're just gonna double check here. Yep, that seems to be a fit. stay. So now I'm going to get my 14 millimeter on my extension with a swivel and a bolt. Excuse my reach, I'm sorry. I'm going to feed these in through the back side. Grease on the bolts too. Start the bolts with my ratchet to make sure that they're, yeah, that's a good start. Get another one going here. Use my reach.
It looks like we're home free, so we're gonna send them in with the gun.
Whenever you're sending a bolt in on an extension with a swivel and an impact, always check with manual force, make sure it's tight. I'll get the brakes back together and then moving on to the next side. Well, that completes side 2. This side went quite a bit easier. I still had to go to extreme measures and use the big yankum to pull it out, and then what ended up working the best is taking a cross peen hammer and hitting the hub side to side once this and the parking brake are out of the way. So this is the let's see, this is the inner bearing race, so this sits on the inside, And from where I'm standing, I can see what I'm talking about. It's kind of hard for you to see what I'm talking about. But the surface has all kinds of imperfections in it, and so do the bearings, like little pits. So that's what causes all the noise and all the ruckus. There's nothing actually, rapidly failing, but it's not going to get any better. One thing to note when you're reassembling this is this edge here, which I can see. I must have got it a little bit. This little edge that goes around here is very close to the drum, and it keeps water out. So when you put the disc back on, this area here can make contact with that if it's gotten moved. So it's always a good idea to reinstall and then give it a couple turns and make sure it's good to go. So knowing that is good to go, we're ready to send this home. The torque on this is as tight as you can get it because there's a spacer in the middle and it's a ball bearing, not a tapered. So
You can see that the original is right there. The other one lined up just like this.
take your chisel and send it back into the keyway at its new position. It's a good time to put your speed sensor back in. And another wonderful place for our slippery stuff to go. You don't want to put it on the sensor, you just want it where you don't want the sensor to live forever. Clean this off before it goes back to where it lives. You don't want to put this very tight, just a little eek. That's all you need.
Okay. Alrighty then. What is going on?
I have no idea what that noise is, but it must be downloading the new firmware for wheel bearings, or it could be upset. What is that? Well, some part of the emission system is working overtime because I think the rate on Christmas Eve is pretty good. I'm guessing there's some pressure in the fuel tank, and it's getting it ready to go for the next startup, and it's gonna shove it in the engine. That's fine. This is the penetrating oil that I used, and it seemed to work pretty well. The other side I used WD-40, and it did not work as well. There's an area up inside of here which you can get the torch right on, and you can warm up the whole knuckle. If you change the temperature of the knuckle from, say, 50 to 100 degrees, it will grow by a certain amount, allowing the bearing and the hub that's stuck in there to exit. The hotter you can get it, the better. In my case, I was there with that there blowtorch for a good 5 minutes, enough that I could feel the whole thing was above 100 degrees. And I yanked the hub out, and then I rocked it back and forth with the cross peen hammer carefully, and it came free. So this side took me about an hour and a half. This side took me about 2 hours, maybe a little bit more than 2 hours. So total elapsed time from getting the parts, getting the vehicle inside, to now is about 5 hours. So what I'm saying here is, if you got this going on with your Subaru and you live in a rusty climate, go and see your local mechanic and ask him if he's familiar with the job and what he does in the case where the hub bearing is stuck. And if he says, it's a pain in the ass and you're going to pay a lot of money to do it, he's not wrong. Some of these will just pop right out, but that's not being realistic. Most of them are going to be pretty well stuck. This car's got 96,000 on it, and it's a clean car, and they were really stuck. So don't be surprised when it happens to you. Seek professional help, but you can try and do it yourself, but it's one of those scenarios where you can end up with a much bigger headache than you anticipated. Thanks for watching. All right, before anybody asks in the comment section, here are the tools necessary for doing this job in a rusty climate. Maybe you're not familiar with this tool. It is a thread file. As you can see, it files threads. So when you damage threads, you can repair them. We've got a 19 3/4 on an impact for the lug nuts. We've got Mr. Yank It Out of There, special part number, having a bad day. We've got some marine grease, needle nose, long handled 3/8, 6-inch or an 8-inch extension, universal, 14 shallow, 14 wrench, 19 wrench, cross peen hammer, small and large chisel, air chisel, little scoopy hook bit, soft face hammer, 2 dead blow hammers, 2 pry bars, and a blowtorch. Repairing the surfaces injured by such instruments, we've got a grinder, and we've got loud and bad day number 2. That's all, folks. Come back again sometime for more interesting content from JMP Saves Cars. Finally the guy's here to jumpstart my car.